Welcome to 3Spoonies. We are your hosts, Claire, Joe, and Karen. This is episode number 19, and it's making plans for the year. So join us as we dive in.
Three Spoonies is sponsored by Grow Radio. Grow Radio is an online radio station dedicated to bringing you a different podcast on the hour, every hour. We are proud that 3Spoonies is played on Grow Radio and to be part of their podcasting community. If you want to listen to the station, explore their shows, check out their many blogs, workshops or videos to improve your podcasting skills, head over to growradio.uk today.
I'm Claire from Sparkle's Gift Boutique.
I'm Joe from Bright Cat Business Solutions.
And I'm Karen from Pony Pony Pony.
And we are 3Spoonies navigating our way through life and business with not enough spoons. So today we are talking all things on making plans for the year. I know I plan ahead. How do you guys get on with planning?
I try to plan ahead. I like to keep at least 3 months ahead on what I'm doing. It doesn't always work. Sometimes plans change. But at the beginning of the year, I like to sort of get an outline of what I want to do. And then sort of if the rug's pulled from under me, I can reevaluate. Or if things are going better than I anticipate, I can reevaluate. But yeah, having that plan, you know where you're going for the year. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I tend to do sort of an overarching sort of aim for the year and a detailed 3 months, because if I did a detailed plan for the entire year, you can guarantee something will go wrong. But I kind of work backwards. I look at how much money do I need to make for the year to survive? So, how much for bills, shopping, existence, any membership fees, things like Netflix, like absolutely everything, any online subscriptions I'm paying for, any sort of tools or software, how much does that cost? How much profit do I want to make on top of it? And, to have money for fun and stuff. And it's like, that's the minimum amount then I need to make for the year. Then I kind of work backwards from that, like how many courses would I need to run to get that much money? So it's like this many short courses, this many hour courses, to sort of break it down and look at what I need to do for the year. And if I look at it and go, that's not possible, I can't possibly make the money, then you have to be honest with yourself and say maybe it's not a viable business idea. If I say I needed to make sure I ran 5 courses a day and I had 10 people on all of them, that's not going to happen. Or, if you're selling something that's lower value and it's like, actually, I need to sell 20,000 to make enough money, then you do have to kind of look at it and say, okay, that's not working. What can I change to make it work?
Yeah, no, I kind of, I get one of my clothing suppliers, they send me through like a big year wall calendar. And I'll put it behind the door and I'll put in all the important holidays that I make things for. And then I'll work. So a couple of months before, I'll have on it like start planning for, say, Christmas or Valentine's, things like that. So I have that kind of set for the year, but then I will try and work it on like a couple of months at a time so that I'm not. But I've also got the plan in front of me of when things are happening. Because otherwise, without that, I forget. And then it's like, oh crap, I need to start doing this. I mean, it's mad to think I've already started on Halloween and Christmas for this year. I mean, Halloween stuff is fantastic, but it's my favourite thing, so I can plan that all year round.
And just to add, although you are hearing this in December,
oh yeah,
yeah. She's not planning for next Halloween yet.
I mean, I probably have, by the time you're hearing this, I probably have ideas for next Halloween on things I'm going to change. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, but no, it is important to plan and to kind of just to have a bit of an idea of what you're doing, because otherwise, when I didn't plan, it was a nightmare. I'd have things all over the place, or I'd be rushing at the last minute to try and do things, and it's just too much pressure.
I also find it's an important point to say, work out, like you say, your monthly budget, what you need to make, and is it time or coming up time, like April, to put up your prices. So it makes that things a little bit easier. As we know,
Mm.
the price of everything keeps going up, but do you need to put your prices up?
Yeah, so I mean, even with like Royal Mail changing their prices, like they changed them twice this year, which was really annoying. The first one I didn't change my postage prices, and then I realised no, I need to change my postage prices
Mm.
because I was covering the difference. And it's just like the more and more orders you get, you're like, that's a chunk of money. So then it was like when they'd done their second postal change, I was like, right, let's change the prices a little bit, But it's yeah, you do have to look at your prices as well and be like, this cost of materials, time, you're working from home, so it's like your electric and for the equipment you're using. I was really good at not doing that at the start.
Mm.
Didn't put it into my plan that I actually needed to earn a wage for my business. I was just pretty much making things at cost price, which was not the ideal thing to do.
Yeah, I think a lot of us have been there, and or sometimes when you're starting out, you sort of don't know what's standard, and you're sort of not doing yourself favors there because people might look at it and go, why is it so cheap? It must be dodgy. Or you're just causing everyone else to look more expensive when actually their prices are reasonable and you're undercharging. So that can absolutely be a thing as well.
Yeah, the amount of like planning and research that can go into just working out your prices so that you're not under charging, like that can be it can be quite a lot because there is such a difference on what people charge for things. And then you've got to try and think, well, where do I fit in this? And what you need to realize is you don't have to fit in it. You can just set your own prices. You know what
Mm.
your time is worth. I remember when I first put mine up, I was petrified. No one would buy from me. It would be the end of my business. And I've been busier since I've done it. So it's not always a bad thing. People respect the fact that you're charging for your time and everything. So when you're planning that, do make sure you charge for yourself.
Yeah.
Mm.
If it looks cheap, they're expecting something cheap. Whereas if it's
Yeah.
not, at least they expect something quality, and they're more likely to pay for that.
Yeah. And it's also, like you said, about taking things into account with your costs. Sometimes when you start a business, you get everything as soon as you start, but that means next year you've got a massive bill. So I tried to spread things out as much as I could. So, like, my website renews in September, another subscription I've got in August. So, if you can spread them out, or do monthly payments, although that can sometimes cost more. It does mean you don't suddenly have a month where it's like, oh my goodness, I've got like 4 grand going out and I didn't know that. I mean, it could be you know that's coming up, you've stuck it in your diary or on your calendar or whatever. So it's like I have to make sure there's money spare for this, but absolutely do account for it because I had one of my subscriptions, they did a thing that if a friend signs up, you get 3 months free. And that sounded great, but that meant it ended up pushed to the same month as another big bill. And so it was like Zoom's coming out, the website's coming out, that's coming out. It was like, ah.
Panic
So
mode.
if you can spread those out, or as I said, put money aside to cover it, that's really good because there's nothing worse than going, oh, I'm doing all right. Oh no, I've got this massive bill. And yeah, so it can be like sort of any sort of big things coming out, I'll put in my diary so I know it's coming out and I can make sure the money's there. And sometimes you need to shuffle it between your business account, your personal account, or whatever. And it's yeah, keep track of all of those things through the year because it may be if you have got a big bill the month before, you'll do a little bit of an extra push to get a few more people signed up, a few things sold, things like that, because it's manageable if you know it's coming, but it's horrendous to suddenly get a bill out of nowhere because that's panic, horror.
Stress.
Mm.
And this year I had Zoom and Monday.com coming out within a few days of each other. I did manage to move Monday to a monthly bill because otherwise I could not have afforded it. And I use that to organise my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need that. You can't lose that. Joe organises us as well, bless her.
That's what I do.
Yeah, there's a reason that you do it.
Mm.
It's like I know I have to pre-plan, especially like when it's a certain like gifting season kind of thing. And I mean Christmas is always a busy one. But then I get random times throughout the year where it just gets really busy. And so then I have to kind of I have to plan my week out because otherwise I can lose myself and just be like 12-hour days and then like you push through it, but then I end up making mistakes and it costs me more because I have to rebuy stock in
Mm.
to redo it. So I've learned to kind of plan out my days a bit and just be like, right, I'm only doing this many hours a day, and then I need to take breaks, need to go and have lunch, and just not get sucked into I just get everything done and just bury your head in it and carry on.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in sort of time blocking. So it's like I'm going to spend this long on this task and this long on this task, because otherwise you can find there's some things you get done and others that get pushed to the back a bit. And, those things that end up on your to-do list every time and it's
The last
still not been
ones.
done.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, I like time blocking. I used to block out like big red blocks in my calendar that just said such and such as client work. And I found that overwhelming
Mm.
because it was just this big red block of, oh, you've got to do this many hours, you're knackered, but you've got to do this. So that's why I ended up with Monday.com, because I put them down as every individual
Mm.
task. I give it a deadline. It's not usually their deadline, it's usually mine. So I know there's room to move it. Whereas all that sits in my calendar now is meetings when we're recording these and things like that. No client work sits in my calendar. It's all on a list and I will just work through that list.
that sounds a lot less pressure than
Yeah.
just
Unless something actually becomes urgent, in which
yeah.
case you skip to it. And then we go back.
Yeah, I swapped from to-do lists to to-do lists. So the idea is you put down 3 things that you're going to get done today, realistically, that need to happen. And then anything else that happens is a bonus. Because sometimes you have those days when you're doing a bits bobs and I don't know, maybe you're putting a graphic together, you're replying to an email, you're putting things on your website, and you think, what have I done today? And you look back and you go, actually, I've done all this stuff that's moving towards my goals, and it has all been really positive. So you can kind of look at it and go, actually, do you know what? It felt like bits and bobs and nothing, but it was all things that needed doing. So yeah, I am a fan of that, but I do tend to time block, each their own, absolutely, because if I don't put in self-care, things will not happen. So,
I also suggest, if you're the type of person that tracks their time on things like if you're doing client work, put in your actual time blocking stuff for you. Like I've got one for my admin, potential client calls, my own social media, and track that as well, because then you can see what you've done. And you won't sit there going, oh, I've not done anything all day, but I've been sat here doing bits and bobs all day. It's like you have.
mm,
It's very easy to kind of feel like you haven't done anything for the day. I'll have a list, and sometimes it can be like a couple of pages, and I'm just like, oh my God, there's so much. But then as I start crossing it off, it's a good way to see what you have done, because even just the little things, right? It can be like I need to add a couple of bits to my website, or just do my newsletter and schedule it, and all those little things add up, and you actually feel quite accomplished, and it just helps motivate you a bit more.
And don't feel guilty if your plans change or have to change. For
mhm.
example, today we are recording 4 podcasts. My plan this morning was to get up about 5 o'clock, which is when my husband gets up, and when the cats wake me up for breakfast, have a shower, have a coffee, get started and do a good 3-4 hours at least client work before we start doing anything like that. Took me an extra hour or so to actually get to my desk. And then I realized I had coaching booked in beforehand. So it was like, right, okay, so that client work's not happening because I don't have the focus for it right now. And I don't have the time that I want to dedicate it to it. So I decided today I will work on podcast stuff all day, because there's always little bits to do.
Yeah,
And that goes in with the rest of the day of us recording. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, dear.
Oh, yeah.
I think that is the
There's no.
advantage of having the overarching goals is you're working towards something. Because there's often things I'll plan that will take flipping ages. So Joe and Claire, when I do a course, I don't just go, oh, I'm going to talk about Instagram or whatever. I'll put together the course books, I'll have all the screenshots, I'll have stuff to go along with it, links and whatever. It takes me flipping ages to put a course together. So if, for instance, because I usually plan in detail for 3 months, but if I know that in September I'm introducing a new course, I will put in time for that. Not necessarily starting in January or anything, but time so I can sort of do that gradually and put that all together, and also update the older courses because things move, things change, and the advice you were giving 6 months ago might not be valid now. So all of that will take a lot of time. So I make sure that's planned in so I don't suddenly get to August and it's like, oh, I've got to put a course together and do a course book. And yeah, it's going to be great. No, no, that way lies horror and pain. Don't do that.
No, don't do that. Save yourself. So we're going to take a quick little break just to have some spoons full of loveliness, which is loads of great things from our sponsors.
I'm Sheena, the business coach who's all about turning small business owners into the superheroes of their own success stories. Based in Sleaford, I run Kapow, a business dedicated to helping those who feel like they're constantly fighting off the villains of time, stress and overwhelm. My ideal client? It's the small business owner who's got big dreams but feels stuck in the daily grind. They're ready to take control and soar, but they need a sidekick to help them navigate the obstacles in their way. How do I help them? I swoop in with clear, actionable coaching that saves time, cuts out the hassle, and brings clarity to their path forward. I help them unlock their potential, escape the mental maze of running a business, and turn their hard work into real results. Whether it's boosting their confidence, finding focus, or just providing that extra push, I'm here to guide them from stressed out sidekick to business superhero. So if you're ready to step into your power and lead your business to victory, I'm your go-to guide. Let's connect and get started on your journey to greatness. Organising the entertainment for a special event or party can be a headache, but it doesn't have to be. Give BJK Entertainment Limited a call and let us do it for you. Wherever you are in the UK, we'll provide the entertainment that'll make your event have energy and excitement. We'll find you a singer, a magician, or even a bouncy castle, and so much more that adapts perfectly to your needs. Whether it's a band from Birmingham, a magician from Manchester, a DJ from Derby, a singer from Southampton, or even a clown from Cardiff, we have you covered. As one of our delighted customers recently put it was fabulous to just turn up and be entertained because Ben did all the hard work for us. If you want to be equally delighted with your event anywhere in the UK, give us a call on 07584 070 865 or email on ben@bjkentertainment-ltd.co.uk. BJK Entertainment Limited, giving you your party your way.
So back to planning and how we plan within our business, because it covers so many things. I try and do this and it doesn't always work, or it may for a bit. I try and kind of plan the hours that I'm going to work in a day. And I'll be like, let's see your face, Joe. Because I've tried this and I'm like, oh, I'm going to do these hours when Dylan's at school. And then when he comes home, I can be, time with the family and stuff like that. It doesn't always work. There are a lot of times I wake up and I'm just like, I don't have the energy for this. I'm in too much pain. So I have to kind of rejuggle things. Do you two try and plan things in that sense? Or have you tried to plan and then been like, you know what, now I just need to wing it?
So, yeah, you did see my face. I did try that. I thought I'm going to work these hours. I've even tried it because I know I need an afternoon nap. I've even tried to build that into my plan. But then there's always the days you wake up, you don't get up as soon as you want to. You're in pain, you're fatigued. Something else throws everything out. I mean, you've got kids, that's going to throw everything out. And it just doesn't work. So as a spoonie, I say, I work when I can. Sometimes it's midnight. Sometimes I actually stick to a fairly regular day, but not often. I work around my body, not the actual plan of time, unless I've got a meeting or something booked in.
Yeah, I think that can sometimes things like meetings, networking, stuff like that can sort of help to section the day out a bit. So it might be I'll try and get this done before this meeting, or, this is nice space here. But yeah, I think you have to have that flexibility to know that some days you might be too ill to do it. Other days you might be extra energetic. So it might be sort of moving things around, or I have days when I'm very migrainey and I can't do things that take a lot of thought, but weirdly, I'm quite good at focusing on small sort of admin tasks like update your website, put the course dates down, things like that. I can do that at certain stages of migraine. So it's like, okay, I'll do that bit. So that bit's done. So I can cross that off. So that was going to be there. It's now there. And yeah, I think, and also I've started to use Pomodoros again, where you sort of work for 25 minutes, then you have the break, because I sometimes will hyper focus so that get to, that flow state when you're really focused.
I've lost
And then
10 hours like that.
Yeah.
and then like the thing gets done, but you haven't eaten and you haven't had a drink.
Yeah.
So I used to have this pop-up that came up and said drink water, and I've started using that again because I found that when I was at work, I drank loads of water because I carried a water bottle around with me. I filled it up at the drinking fountain multiple times in the day. Whereas when I'm in the office at home, I don't do that. Maybe it's not a habit, I'm not sure, but I sort of make myself have those breaks because otherwise I'd get to the end and go, oh, I've just used up like 3 days of spoons and it's great that I've got this big project done, but I am going to be useless for the rest of the week. So I think it's very much finding what works for you. We're all different. And, some people like to physically write things down and have lots of colours, and that's helpful for them. Other people, it might be a list of things. Or, for some people, it might be something like a vision board that you know that you want by the end of the year. And you know what you're doing to work towards that. There isn't necessarily a wrong or a right. There's just what helps you, what motivates you. And, some people love to gamify it. There's lots of apps where you can tick off your tasks and it will give you points or whatever else. If that motivates you, absolutely. It's especially with limited energy, do the important things. And maybe there's a few things that it would be nice if it happened, but realistically, it's like if it doesn't happen, I can keep my health for a little bit longer. So let's not do that thing. That's an extra bonus, like stretch goal.
Fabulous. Thinking about more long-term planning, if you're doing something like a product launch that's a big one, or you're running an event, a small one, you need at least 6 weeks marketing time. That doesn't mean you start working on it 6 weeks before. You need to have everything ready to go at that 6 week point. So you need at least 3 months. If you're running something like an expo, you need at least 3 months marketing time. I would say 6, and you should have been planning a year ahead. So in that case, planning for your year on big things like that is really important. The amount of time I see people, I'm going to do a thing. When is it? Next week. You're not going to get the
Yeah, it's not the thing.
even if what you're offering is free, you're not giving people enough time.
Yeah, definitely. I think you need to work back from those big days. It's like, when do I start drip feeding this? But if you're paying for ads, when do I start using those? If you're using organic, when do you step it up a bit? And get that all done in advance, like you said, because then you can focus on other things. So if you're running an event, there may be other things like you need to check the venue, get someone to do catering, all those other things. If you've got your posts or whatever, your emails organised in advance, scheduled, then you don't have to worry about it because that bit's happening, and you can switch off that part of your brain slightly.
Yeah, you can work on pushing it in other ways. And if you've got an energy limiting illness, give yourself some extra time. Definitely keeping breaks. Don't work on it constantly too hard, because obviously that's going to be one part of your business. Don't neglect the rest. And then don't neglect to do it.
Yeah, you need to plan in the balance for everything that you've got going on, like, all your extra marketing, getting the marketing stuff ready. But you also, and I think we talk about it in most of these, is you have to make sure you've got that bit of self-care in there. And, but then whatever your product you're launching or your event, you've still got everything else going on in your business. So you
And
technically kind of got
also,
three things.
Yeah, no, that's very true. But also, I think learn from things because certainly I've had times where I've put all my eggs in one basket and relied on an event that someone else was running, and then it wasn't great. And I certainly have a habit, especially when I'm low in energy, of going, right, I'm going to focus on this thing. I don't have the energy to focus on anything else. And the problem with that is if the event or whatever it is, the opportunity is rubbish, you've got nothing to fall back on. So, yeah, if you can do things in advance, know that's sorted, and then have some other things going on in the background. So maybe you're putting up a post about this big event that's coming up, but you're also talking about other things you offer, various products, things like that's fine to do, and it probably is a good thing to do because people also can get a bit fatigued from seeing you going, oh, I've got an event in 6 months, I've got an event in 5 months, I've got an event in 4 months. Guess what? I've got this event. And the people are like, yeah, we know. So if you mix it up a bit.
Especially if you've got something that doesn't require you to put any extra effort in. For example, I've got courses and sort of subscription stuff that I technically don't need to do anything with. I just need to market it. That's an extra income. And if you can keep sort of a backup plan in your back pocket, just in case things go a bit tits up, because they will eventually, or something will. So always have that extra plan.
It's never plain sailing, is it? There's always something that kind of like gets thrown your way, and you're just like, oh, let me adjust this, and
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why my detailed plan is like for 3 months, and I'll have things going ahead from that. But those will be sort of happening in the future. Whereas at 3 months, it's long enough that you can see changes, but it's short enough that it's manageable and you can work with that. Because if I try to plan out the entire year in detail, I mean, something major could happen, and it's like, well, none of that's happening now. Or it could be your health dips and you're not able to do the things you had planned. And there are some things like Joe said that you do have to plan in advance and they do have to be in, but try and focus on the now. So if you've got it planned out and it's like, right now I'm focusing on this, next month I'm focusing on this, that can also take the pressure off because otherwise it feels like, oh my goodness, I've got this thing coming up in December, it's now January and I'm stressing about it. It's like, no, that's for future me.
Yeah, and if you plan it all in detail, it's a waste of time basically because you need to be able to move with the changes in your business. I agree, a 3 month detailed plan is a good idea, and then have an idea for the rest of the year, unless you've got certain things that you need to hit, like various holiday dates.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
even
and
that, you
also
can have like a rough plan of when you've got to do things, but just having it there so you know when they are, you don't forget about them, you've got them. And if you plan it a bit early, that's still fine. But
Yeah,
you've got it all kind of to hand. So, do you guys have any tips for people with their planning, or any advice that you would give?
always be willing to be flexible.
mm,
If you've got a rigid plan you must stick to, it's going to go wrong and you're going to have a meltdown. You're not going to know what to do. Always be flexible. Something needs to change it. If you need to throw it away and start again, do it. Don't worry about it. Don't stress. I know that's easy to say and hard to do, but yeah, if you're always willing to be flexible, it won't hit you as hard.
mm. I'd say keep track of your numbers and your targets as you go along. So, in the first 3 months, did you manage to do everything you had planned? If you didn't, are your plans for the rest of the year a bit too big, or do you need to drop it down a bit? And also, sort of looking at the money, I bring enough money in. Is this working? I would say I was particularly money motivated, but you need to have enough money coming in to keep going. The longer you're going on, not quite earning enough, the more that makes a bit of a dent. So if you've had 3 months when you've not made much money, and there could be 101 completely valid reasons for that, you've got to look at, what do I need to change? Do I need to add something? Is there something that's not working? And those 3 months chunks allow you to say, okay, I tried this month, it didn't really work. This month I'm trying this, or downgrading this, or focusing on this. So have those little bits of time to look back and go, yeah, this worked, this didn't work, because nothing else is set in stone. Well, some things maybe you may have certain commitments, but there may be other things that you go, yeah, or sometimes it's just like, I didn't enjoy that. I thought it was going to be great. It wasn't. it was a hassle. I don't want to do that. Completely reasonable.
Yeah. I think I'm going to add on to it. Don't feel bad if your plans don't go right and you have to make changes. Like, life throws so much at us. So your plan's not always going to stick to how the plan should be, but don't feel bad about it. Just kind of adjust and move on. And, you'll learn more from that as well, about what you can and can't do. So thank you for joining us, Three Spoonies, on episode 19, Making Plans for the Future. We would love to know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to our weekly podcast and leave us a review. You can find us on social media, and we'd love it if you join us in the Business Success Network for Disabled Entrepreneurs Facebook group. You can also buy us a coffee if you like what we do. All of the links will be in the show notes. We will see you next week for our community questions. Have a great day and keep track of your spoons.
And if you celebrate, have a great Christmas.